for the notification to abutters and the regs. Matt, off the top of your head, isn't it 7 calendar days they have to notify? It's really not black and white. It's sort of like a,
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
well, they did it in 6. I hate looking through the regs stuff. I usually go to the MACC handbook first. Hearing procedures, 10.5.
Is everyone? So there's a phone number that just joined, 8226, the last 4 digits. Just want to confirm who that is. Is that a member of the commission or?
Oh, sure.
I'm going to start admitting the public, the applicants and the public. Yeah.
Don, I think the language is you have to be notified concurrent with the submission. So kind of pay.
Yeah, but I know I've read if it doesn't happen concurrently, yeah, you're supposed to, but if it doesn't happen that way, it has to be at least a week.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's specified in the regs. That may be a interpretive thing.
And then I might have to look at the yeah, it's an interpretive, then I have to look at the bylaw too.
Okay, just for all the members of the public and the applicants that just joined the meeting, we don't yet have a quorum. We're waiting for another member or 2 of the commission to join the meeting, and then we'll get going.
This is unusual. Everybody.
Oh, you don't have to notify it, but it's under the act, right? It just goes in the newspaper. It's NOIs. So he's okay under the act. It would be the bylaw.
Talking about RDAs, Don?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
notification.
see,
under the
I'm
act.
spacing. Five point oh. So we could proceed under the act.
All right,
And
Carrie,
then the commission will have to see what it says in the regs.
Anna, Carrie's joining now, so we have a quorum. So let's get started with the meeting. So I got to go through the legal language for the remote meeting, so let me do that now. As a preliminary matter, this is Jeff Barnes, Chair of the Hopkinton Conservation Commission. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. So on the call right now for the commission, we have Melissa Ricos, Kerry Reed. We have Ed Harrow and Jeff Barnes. So we have a quorum. We have 3 members that have yet to join. We also have Don McAdam, Conservation Administrator. We have Anna Rogers, who's also part of the conservation staff. And we have Matt Vero, who's the Lucas Environmental Consultant. Good evening. This is the open meeting of the Hopkinton Conservation Commission. It's being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth, due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. This meeting of the Hopkinton Conservation Commission will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via the Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting may also be broadcast, or is also being broadcast by HCAM as well. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that attendees are participating by video conference accordingly. Please be aware that others may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast will be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided to the commission members are available on the town's website via the web meeting calendar. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do that, permit me to cover some ground rules.
Sure.
I, as the chair, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will invite commission members to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comments as follows. The chair will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses. I will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. Finally, each vote will be taken in this meeting will be by a roll call vote. I'll call on each member. The member will state their name and your vote. All right, so Don, why don't we get going on the administrative items or the work session items? So we have some documents for review.
Okay. Let me bring those up, share screen them with you.
So we have Maspinock Woods. This is just for the video recording. Maspinock Woods LLC, 5 Elm Street, in order of conditions. Nation, 6 Leon's Way, in order of conditions. Healy, 60 Pine Island Road, in order of conditions. And H. Longcorp, 109 Winter Street, which is an extension permit for an order of conditions.
Right. Did the, let's see, so Maspinock Woods is first. The sent out the revised plan. Hopefully that was, the commission got a chance to look at the relocated garage. All that, I can bring that up if people haven't.
No, I think I'm good, Don. I won't speak for the other commissioners. But I did see on the drawing, they brought the garage forward, so it's parallel with the front of the house.
There it is right here. Hopefully everyone can see this. Yep. Yeah, before it was offset to the rear. The commission was looking to have it moved up front. The
Can't see
applicant
the
was,
plan.
you can't.
Nope.
No, it's not up yet, Don.
I think you need to switch your share. Maybe.
Okay, there we go. How's that?
Yep.
There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. They were able to move it up and reduce the amount of buffer zone in the in the vernal pool buffer zone, potential vernal pool. And they did give us the numbers in the email. I can dig those out for you. Decrease of 176 feet of buffer zone disturbance with the garage and 179 less of driveway.
Okay, excellent.
So if
All
you
right.
guys are amenable with that, we'll sign and issue this draft order.
I'm good with it. Is everyone else good with it?
Melissa, looks good to me.
As I look at the plan, can we put the plan back up? Because I don't have it handy.
Sorry, yeah, I just closed it. I thought we were done. Let me get back to it.
So the entirety of the house is within the wetland buffer zone. Is that not correct?
Yeah, previously disturbed, yes. You've got,
Yeah, okay, okay.
it's located further away from the previously existing
Yeah, I see.
the structure to be raised. That was
Yeah.
36 feet. Now it's proposed 40.
Okay, I'll say I'm not happy, but I'll agree.
Yeah, so Ed, we already voted on this. We just, as part of the affirmative vote, we were looking for them to
Yeah.
make a couple changes to the plan,
Yeah,
which they've done, and we're confirming here.
yep. Okay, so I'm okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. That was the old one with more garage and driveway in the buffer zone.
all right, and then Nation, I think we're good with that one, Don.
Yeah, we got revised plan that called out the dry well, and we did get the calcs that we were looking for. So,
Okay, good. So we're all set there. The 60
Yep.
Pine Island Road, we're good with.
yep, there was no revised documents for that. So that was pretty straightforward
Yeah,
for that one.
and then the extension permit was pretty straightforward too, so.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so, Kune 6 Cubs Path, we have an exemption request.
Yes. Let me grab that.
Anna, just for the record, Jim's, joining now.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Jim. I'm finally here. Can you hear me, Anna?
We can hear you, Jim.
Hey,
We're already underway.
yeah, good. Sorry about that.
No
I
worries.
had some serious technical difficulties.
No
Go
worries.
ahead. Carry on. I'll catch up.
Okay, through the chair, there was 4 trees located on this sketch plan. And I got some photos of the trees. There's one right here growing over the house. Second one back here with the split right there, growing sort of over the corner of the house in the yard area. And then all these are staying. And then just 2 by the garage. They're all pretty much in landscape area. There were concerns for them getting bigger and the proximity to the house. And while I was out there, here they are close to the house and the driveway. And while I was out there, I noticed that the lawn, he had put in some fill here to level off the limit of lawn. But to me, because the well is right here, he wasn't expanding it. And he said there was a row of stones, and I can show you those photos here. He basically was saying there was a row of stones right here, so the lawn just sort of dropped down to that. So he by hand, with hand tools, was able to put in some loam right through here. And if you scroll through, he also put in a drain line right at the edge of the water would come down off the grade into this area. Basically, you'd have water coming down this area. He's got a little patio here, and he just put a drain line right there to protect that area. And there's the well, and there was stones along there. He's only got to this point here, and you can sort of see what existed. So he's basically just taken soil just to the stone line and just leveled it, but didn't extend the lawn beyond the stones.
Okay,
So the area is still, intact. So basically I was saying that would be part of the exemption request too, to, in essence, maintain the lawn, but, not to expand it.
right, okay.
So those are the two factors of the exemption request.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Right.
Yeah.
And he wants to plant this area. He wants to put in more wild plants in this area to act as a buffer, because the highway's out here. He's hoping to get some noise and some visual through there.
All right, this abuts 495, right?
Correct.
No, the Mass Pike.
Mass Pike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Mass Pike, yeah. So, okay. All right, is everyone okay with that?
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Harrow.
This is an ACEC, correct?
No,
No?
not the private property.
Okay. I thought that was all part of the project.
Did I make a GIS?
It's a long time ago, so my memory is probably faulty.
I might have did a. Even that thing dropped down in front of me. What address is this? This is 6 Cubs Path.
Yeah, I mean, anyways, Don, I mean, he's not going
Right.
into the resource area. More so than what's already been disturbed, so I mean,
Just off the top of my head, knowing all the ACECs. Bringing it up right now. God, I hate what this thing is getting in the way. There we go. And themes. Yeah, you can see there's no indication of, well, can you see that? Yeah, you can't see that. New share.
I think we're good, Don, don't worry about it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's previously disturbed areas, just removing some of the pine trees. I think we're good with that. Ed, are you okay with that? I mean, it's,
Which lot is it?
6 Cubs Path, this one right here.
And so it's, okay, I'll say the same thing. I'm not happy, but I'll go with it.
okay. Thanks, Ed.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our first hearing. And I gotta read this one out. Let's see. Bryant, 0 Downey Place. This is a notice of intent to construct a single-family home. Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020 at 6:30 PM virtually online to hear all persons interested in notice of intent filed by Downey Place Realty Trust to construct a single-family house with associated site work. The location is 0 Downey Place, Assessors Map L36, Block 58, Lot 0. All right. Mr. Connors, are you with us? Or someone representing the applicant?
The applicant is with you.
Oh, okay. How you doing, Mr. Dell?
I'm good, thank you. I'm sorry it comes up that way.
No, that's okay.
There's Mr. Connors, I think.
I can't see myself, but that's all right.
All right, you guys, would one of you like to give us an overview of the project, please?
Can we put up the drawing, please, Don?
You guys not able to see that?
I've got something from before Cubs Path.
On Cubs Path.
All right, how's
Ah,
that?
here we go.
There you go.
All right. 60 Downey Street, you can see that it's at the corner of Downey Place and Downey Street. It's a lot between two existing houses, as you can see on the drawing there. The yard has a existing garage area, a couple of shed areas, a garden area, and it drops approximately 17% on slope. Oh yeah, you can see those areas there with little rectangles back to the plan. So what happens on that lot is it's generally used between those two houses as a place for the garage. They store their tractor there and they take care of snow and things like that. From the road down to the water line, there are numerous stone walls as shown in our drawing, little retaining walls that go up a few feet to 4 or 5 feet. You can see the rock kind of formation going through the house and just below the house, and then the rock formation along the water line. The water line, when I visited that site sometime in January, I believe, water in the pond had been drawn down, and there was approximately 3 or 4 feet of exposed retaining wall at that particular location. As I said, the land slopes at about 17%, so it drops from 384 up at the street to 350 down at the pond where the retaining wall is. It's a fairly decent, steeply sloping lot, and some of the retaining walls have leveled off various areas in there. And he's proposing a house of about 2,700 square feet. We are proposing to have that house roof drainage go into dry wells. You can see them on either side of the lot where the house is up against lot lines. They will take 1 inch of rain and hold it during that rainstorm and infiltrate it into the ground. We have the driveway coming into the garage. Those protrusions to the east are the garage area. You can see the driveway coming in. It also has an apron going to the north. Underneath that apron, we propose the water service for the building. And to the north of that, at the edge of the house, we have a pressure force main, which will discharge into the existing sewer system by what we call an E1 pump. There's a diagram in the lower part of the drawing to show how that works. There is proposed this house and deck system that goes from beginning of the street. You can see there's about a 17-foot setback. It's in the 45,000 square foot zone, but this lot has 17,800 square feet. We're able to not have to use the 30-foot setback. We have a ability to use the average of the setbacks on either side. So that brings us to about 17 feet for this house. And you can see that from the corner of the curve in Downey Place. That's the controlling number. And then as we come through the house, that drops fairly significantly. There's going to be a 14-foot concrete pour on parts of the wall, the eastern and part of the northern and southern walls because of sloping. And then we have the decks and the stairs. You can see that at the bottom of the house or the westerly portion of it near the pond. That heavy dashed line is our erosion control barrier. The lot is generally a grassed lot, although there's a couple of garden areas that are there. But for the most part, the erosion potential of this is minimal from the grass perspective, and the amount of tree removal, there's just a couple of trees that are going to come down. So it's not going to be a lot of erosion potential during tree clearing or stripping and clearing of the lot. It's going to be a fairly skeletal excavation for the foundation, and I believe they can store the material up gradient above the house. In any event, that's erosion control barrier can serve to take care of that. And that's really it. It's a small lot. It had been approved by the zoning board as a separate lot. That's why it is not 45,000 square feet. And we can use the pre-existing non-conforming aspects of zoning relative to the setback and to keep it far away. But again, that whole area is a sort of a recreational area. And I think this, with removing some of the sheds and cleaning up some of the area, will serve to protect the wetland and the recreational value of the pond. And I'll let Mr. Bryant add whatever he needs to, and I'll be happy to respond to questions and comments and suggestions.
Thank you, George. This is Steve. I'm pleased with what you've described it as.
Okay. All right, Don, can you put the site plan back up, please? So it's previously disturbed, mostly a grassy lot in its current condition, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So, okay. So typically, we have to stay outside the 50-foot buffer with structure on a project like this. And as you can see, there's a little bit of a incursion into that with the west side of the house. So I guess a question is, on the east side of the house, you have that little kind of right there. I don't, it's probably a garage or something, but it's coming
Yes.
out.
Yes.
Yeah. So is that a garage or?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay. So that's the first comment, to pull the structure out beyond the 50-foot. And I don't know if you can do something with the garage there to accomplish that, but that's the first comment. Second comment is the trees along the perimeter of the shoreline there, those will stay in place. They're not going to be removed.
Don't see any need to remove those four.
Those four, okay, but the one where the deck is, obviously that one's going to be taken out.
Yeah, I would suggest that comes out because the house will be there and they'll be digging and disturb some of the roots out at the distance that the house foundation would be.
Right, okay. And then I think, and I'll let Matt interject here in a second, but I think there was a question regarding just the stormwater runoff and making sure that that is staying on site and not being diverted to the adjacent properties.
I can answer that question with two answers. The first is we're putting in dry wells on either side of the house to take care of the roof runoff. And if you look at the contours up on the northern side, you can see almost like a V where the contours are going.
Okay.
That's our swale. I note that Mr. Bryant owns the lot next door anyway. And then on the southerly side, you can see that same kind of a V. That's the indication where the water would go. And again, this is Mr. Bryant, a relative or whatever of Mr. Bryant on the south side.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you. And then the sheds will be removed, is that correct?
Yes.
The shed
Believe
along
so.
the shoreline, and there's one up on
Yes.
the east, okay. Okay, so those are my comments. I'll open it up to Matt first, and then we'll open it up to the commission members. Matt, did you have any comments?
So I had a number of comments, but I think the applicant has addressed them. I'll just run through them quickly. One was basically the same question you had about staying out of the 50-foot zone and, providing an adequate alternatives analysis. The applicant has submitted a more detailed alternatives analysis. that they may want to go through with you. The applicant had, in the application, had talked about doing some repair to the retaining wall and the steps at the water. In their response, it's my understanding that they've withdrawn that part of the project from the plan. So I guess just my question would be on that is, is that something that's necessary to maintain bank stability, or is it, is it fine as it is? If that's the case, fine.
May I address that, or you want to finish?
Sure, you can, if you want to take these one at a time, that's fine.
I had the opportunity to actually see the wall from the water side. It had been drawn down back in January or whenever I was out there. And I just simply noted that there were 3 or 4 areas where the masonry that between the rocks, the joint, was beginning to crack a little bit. I didn't see anything structural there, and I didn't see anything where erosion could come through. But I figured that they could, when they were working on the house, probably building a chimney or something, and it was watered down, that they could simply do a little bit of stitch in time, save 9. It's not a big issue. You simply stand on the shore where the water was down, and with a bucket of cement, fix a couple of those cracks and things. That's simply what it is, nothing more.
Yeah, so that's fine. So my comment was really just an explanation of what that work was going to be. So if that's all it is, then I think that just needs some more specificity. So I don't know if you're still proposing that, or if you're still withdrawing that as part of this application or not.
We leave that up to the commission to put an order in that it could be repaired, and when the water was down, with simply a mason with a bucket of cement. No equipment, no nothing. Doesn't need it.
And then my other comment was about the removal of the shed at the water's edge, as far as what was going to be in its place, as far as vegetation or anything. And again, I think the response was that you're proposing some sort of pervious pavers in that location.
That's correct.
So my only comment on that is we typically require some sort of spec or description as to, what type of pavers, and, that if they are to be pervious, that the substrate beneath them is adequate to allow the water to infiltrate through them, which
We can
I don't believe is shown on the current plan.
We can provide that as soon as Mr. Bryan picks what type of brick or patio block he wants.
So that was pretty much all I had, Jeff.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks.
Matt. Let me open it up to the commission members. Any comments from any of the commission members?
All right, well, this is Jim. I'll go first. This is a lot. This lot has only been improved with a shed or 2, as I understand it. No house, no structure that they're replacing, or that they are building in the same footprint or anywhere near the same footprint, right?
Correct.
So I guess I have a real problem with it being entirely in the 50 to 100. I agree, Jeff. It's got to absolutely everything's got to be out of the 50. But I even have concerns about it being in the 50 to 100. It's not a prior use because there hasn't been a residence there. Well, that's it.
Okay, thanks, Jim. I don't, just from a, engineering standpoint, I don't think they can get a structure, outside the 100-foot. There's just not enough room there. But I'll,
So I understand that, but they might be able to pull this one forward a little bit, and at least ease my concerns.
okay.
Or-
All right, Ed?
I won't go so far as Jim, but I would echo what you said. If you can squeeze it out of the 50, I would be, under the circumstances, previously disturbed, et cetera, I don't have a major issue.
All right, thank you. Carrie, Melissa, any comments?
This is Melissa. I'd agree with Ed's opinion there. The other thing, a lot of the sites like this that we've had, there have been some sort of drainage for the driveways. I didn't know if that was considered or thought that that might be problematic for running into the house and causing issues for the driveway drainage. Obviously, the roof's taken care of with the dry wells, but we've had some other sites where we've had catch basins or infiltration trenches, infiltrating catch basins to take care of some of the driveway runoff.
I'll be happy to look at that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Melissa. And Mr. Connors, I would just suggest that you guys take a look at that, because particularly on like a property where there's a steep slope like this, you get the water coming down the street. And we've had some issues, as Melissa, was speaking to, where you just get, runoff coming from the street, running down the driveway, and then creating problems in the house. So, if that's not something you guys have looked at, it may be prudent to do that.
Be happy to do that.
Just, and it's a, not only a stormwater issue, but it prevents headaches for the homeowner in the, in the long term as
Understood.
well.
Yep, fine.
Okay.
I could share some examples. We just had one recently approved by the commission. I can send you that, Mr. Connors.
Thank you.
Okay. Carrie, did you have a comment or?
My comment just echo everybody else's. I'd like to see it out of the 50. This is kind of, we don't allow it within the 50, and the only time we do it on the lakefront has always been if it's further away than whatever was previously there. And this house actually it's closer to the lake than the one surrounding it, so I think it's a bad precedent. And then I'm a little concerned about whatever other development will be around it. Like, we don't see like the docks or patios, but the idea that they're changing the shed to pervious pavement makes me think that there's going to be a lot more, recreational development in and around that yard. But we'll see.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair.
Yep.
First of all, I apologize for being late. I had some technical issues. Secondly, I'm glad, I think that was Carrie that just spoke, that she mentioned the place where the shed was. I also fear what that, by the way, I echo the get it out of the 50, move it as far away. But that little patio, that concerns me a little bit. We just had on the other side of the lake 2 houses being built, and they were returning that whole lakefront on the other side of the lake to something more meadowy and natural. And that paver section feels fire pit-ish, feels like recreational use right on the shoreline. And that concerns me a little bit.
Okay. All right. So I think that's the feedback you're getting from the commission. Let me just open it up to any comments from the public at this point. You can raise your hand. Just scroll through. See if we have any comments. Doesn't look like it. Okay, going once, going twice.
Yes, hi. I raised my hand.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Garland. Okay. Just scrolling through, I saw it. Okay, go ahead. I apologize.
No worries. I think I was raising it right as you were. I was trying to figure out the technology like the other gentleman. So yes, my name is Walter Garland. My wife and I live at 50 Downey Street, which is just a couple of doors down from where this project will be. And Steve was kind enough to review all the details of it with me and walk the property. And I think they've just done an excellent job of shoehorning a home into these lots. I mean, my wife and I built on this same steep grade a few years ago, and it's just extremely challenging to be able to do that. I understand the concern about the 50 feet, but please also take into consideration the steepness of the property. And I'm not sure that it's possible to move it back and still build a house there, but I would say just overall, I think it's going to be a great asset for the neighborhood. Will help substantially increase the property values around there to have another really beautiful home in that space. So my wife and I fully endorse it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garland. Appreciate your feedback, and we'll defer to Mr. Connor's engineering expertise to see if he can come up with an alternate plan to pull that back outside the 50. But I think we, Mr. Connors, you have our feedback, and a little bit more homework we need to do, I think. So we'll have to continue this out to the next meeting, which is the 14th. That work for you?
It does.
Okay. And if you can just send Don, please, a request for the extension to the 14th,
Can I do that tomorrow?
that'd be perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank
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 you.
you.
Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Okay, moving on to Vumbaka, 17 West Elm Street. This is a request for determination of applicability to replace a failed septic. Hearing on Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020 at 6:30 PM, virtually online to hear all persons interested in request for determination of applicability filed by Dino and Janine or Gian Vumbaka to repair a septic system with associated site work. Location is 17 West Elm Street, assessors map R22, block 28, lot 0. So do we have a representative from the applicant present? Scott?
Yep,
How you doing today, Mr. Fanara?
pretty good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So I'm Scott Farrar with Grady Consulting, here representing the applicant. This here is just a septic repair. As you can see, there's some site constraints keeping the system and all the work outside completely of the 100-foot buffer. There's some boulders and ledge outcrops which prohibit us from pushing the system further away. The leaching field will be entirely outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, although there will be a septic tank and some associated site work within the 100-foot buffer. We're proposing some erosion control in the form of a silt sack just upside of the existing driveway. And just reiterating, this is for a failed septic system. At that point, I'll just open up to any questions.
So
Through the
are you, yes, Don, go ahead, sorry.
We just minutes before the meeting, we got the proof of abutters, which are dated, looks like June 17th, 2020. According to the regulations for abutter notification, having been made at least 7 calendar days in advance of the anticipated meeting. I don't know if the commission would interpret that date as 7 days or in compliance with the abutter notification. If so, we could move on.
Yeah, I think that's fine, Don. So what was the date of the abutter notification? The
It says here, it was
17th?
done on June 17th. Mailed.
It's the 23rd. It's a septic system replacement. I think we're good.
Yep.
Melissa, Carrie, do you want to weigh in on that?
I'm fine with that. Melissa?
Carrie?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay. All right, so is it a replacement or is it an upgrade, Mr. Fanara?
It's a repair, so no increase in the number of bedrooms.
It's a repair, okay. Okay. All right, Matt, did you have any comments?
Just a very few.
Seemed pretty
Um,
straightforward to me.
Yeah, just when I was out there, I noted there was some dumping going along the wetland boundary, so the homeowners might want to just be advised to minimize that in the future. And then I thought on the plan, the erosion controls potentially might need to be extended a little bit further to fully protect the resource area, understanding that there has to be a way for machinery to get in and out, but maybe at least once everything's been graded out, that the erosion controls get extended sort of right to the 100-foot buffer there. That was about it.
Okay, does that make sense, Mr. Fanar?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Questions or comments from the commission? I think this one is, yep, Jim, go ahead, sorry.
No, I think everything's covered. Thank you.
Okay. All right, questions or comments from the public? Let me just scroll through here. If you do have a question, raise your hand. Going once, going twice, and we have no public comments. Okay. So if I can get a motion to issue a negative determination for the request for determination, please.
This is Carrie, so moved.
Carrie is made the motion and a second. Ed seconded.
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay, and we'll do the roll call. So Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. And Jim, please.
Aye.
All right, and the motion passes. Okay, thank you, Mr. Fanar.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Through the chair, if you guys want to just sign a signature page, we will issue that in due course because the commission's not meeting again for 21 days.
Yep, that's fine, Don.
Okay, we'll work on that.
Thank you for doing that. Okay. So we'll move along to Franklin Solar. This is a continuation of a notice of intent for a solar facility. And Mr. Rodriguez, are you with us?
Yes.
How you doing tonight?
Good, yeah.
Good, thanks. And Mr. Fasendola is with us as well?
How we doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, do you want to give us a quick update as to changes since our recent meeting and where you guys are at, please?
Sure. So start with minor plan changes from the last plan set. Some minor changes, mostly a few drafting items to address some of the comments from Lucas Environmental. Site design changes. Fire department requested we add some pull-off areas to the gravel driveway. So we added about 7 or 8 pull-offs. They're shown in a darker color gray on the proposed site plan. And fire chief has given us his blessing for the whole site. He is satisfied with the access and the pull-offs we're providing, and he has no further comments. We'll be coordinating with him come building permit time for Knox boxes and other types of safety signage. But for the most part, site-wise, he's satisfied with what we're doing. Made a few small changes to the detention basins to address a few outstanding stormwater comments from Beta. Just a few little bit of tweaking of the existing basins. We haven't made any major changes to those basins, haven't added any new basins, just a little bit of regrading and touching them up with regards to that. We also did a little additional site grading at our two crossings of the gas easement. We've been in correspondence with Eversource, and they're looking for us to be about 4 to 5 feet above the grade level of the pipe, and they told us that the pipe is about 2 to 3 feet below grade. They're going to go out and do some exploration out there and locate the pipe through this section of the easement at our crossings. We had a site meeting with them. But they did request that we raise our grade through those two areas. So if you look at the one that's closest to the resource area, we had to do a little bit of additional grading, nothing that dips into the 50-foot buffer zone, but it's a little bit more disturbance than was shown on our previous plan to accommodate that requirement. Other than that, there's really no other major substantial changes. We did our best to address the Lucas environmental comments. I'm sure Matt will speak to those items, and I can provide any additional input on those. But we did revise the plantings in the restoration area as requested, and provided some additional low-lying shrubs and bushes. We'll be planting some elderberry, blueberry, and St. John's wort in that area, along with we're maintaining some larger perimeter trees furthest away from the array to kind of get a good balance of vegetation through that area.
Okay.
One last thing, we had a meeting with the planning board last night, and they closed out our stormwater permit. So we have no outstanding issues regarding stormwater management with the planning board. We're still actively permitting our special permit, but stormwater management permit has been wrapped up.
All right. Don, can you go back to the site plan? That shows the array near the vernal pool there, because I thought we had asked you guys to pull the panels out of the vernal pool buffer zone. And it looks like they're still in there. Yeah, right there.
Correct. I don't recall a specific request. I may have misinterpreted that. We did submit the waiver documentation for that. But if that's something the commission would want, Pedro, I'll let him speak to that. But we could easily just eliminate that one array table if that's something the commission would like to see.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to do that.
I apologize about that. I misunderstood the discussion at the previous meeting, but we can definitely take care of that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, no problem at all.
What's that? I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, just to confirm what Nick said, I misunderstood. I didn't know that you guys have asked us to remove that table, but we can definitely do that. Not a
Yeah, I
problem.
forget which one of the commission members brought that up, but it was a good point. I mean, it was a while ago, so I don't recall who it was, but
Okay.
just historically on the projects that we've permitted in town, all the arrays have been out of the buffer zone. So that was the rationale behind that.
No problem.
Okay. And Mr. Rodriguez, if you can just kind of give us an overview of where you are with your discussions with HALT.
Same. I mean, we have been speaking with Hold. We're going to be donating the entire open space. Right now, we have asked the planning board to put a condition on the special permit that the open space will be donated before the project is interconnected.
Okay.
So that's where we are.
What's the acreage of the open space that's being donated, just for my recollection?
Yeah.
It's approximately 45 acres.
Yeah, about 45 acres. We also coordinated the landscaping around the trails. We are going to be maintaining the landscaping, even though they might be located inside the open space. So we'll take care of that responsibility too.
Okay. All right, and then the pavement's being removed from the buffer zone as well, as I recollect, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Matt, you want to jump in? And I know I've read through your comments. It looks like for the most part, you're satisfied. I think there were a couple.
Yeah, there was just a couple of minor things that,
M plan, the Conservation Commission be listed as a designee.
yep. Yeah, so the first one was for the sort of the replanting of the vernal pool buffer zone. I think the plantings are all fine. I think just one other thing that would improve that area and make it a little bit more valuable sooner rather than later is just to put some coarse woody debris in there. Obviously, clearing the site, you're going to have plenty of availability of old rotting logs and things, and just putting some of those in there will actually enhance that area, I think.
Okay.
So I think that's a pretty easy one to do. As you mentioned, just having the O&M plan state that Concom or their designee can enter to inspect, same as planning board. And then there was a little bit of a question in my mind on, and this may be something that can just be conditioned on the vegetation management, at least
Right.
within the buffer zone areas around the arrays, as far as how and when it's going to be mowed or maintained as meadow, to actually, have it provide value. One of the statements in it was that it would have a maximum vegetation height of 36 inches, which is fine, but if it doesn't state a minimum, and it does state a minimum elsewhere of 12, it appeared, I think maybe just some consistency. And I don't know if the commission wants to sort of dictate that it's only going to be mowed X number of times per year, presuming that it's not interfering with the efficiency of the facility.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, Matt, to specify the season that they're doing the trimming, and then the amount of trimming they're doing. Mr. Rodriguez, does that make sense to you? We can just condition that in the order of conditions.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Okay.
Through the
I
chair.
think,
Yes, Don.
Yeah, just as a background, we've had a few commercial solar projects. Two of them, previous ones, were wooded. Some others were previously disturbed, and the two past where you had wooded habitat, any of the buffer zone disturbance was conditioned as being wildlife meadow habitat, converted and managed as such.
Yep.
So I don't know if the commission's looking for something similar as the other two projects that were conditioned.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the idea, right? That it's a meadow, but the applicant has the ability to go in, in the
Yes.
fall, just
Right.
to, do some trimming so that the grass doesn't get high enough where it's interfering with the production of.
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of mowing it at the end of the growing season, so they don't have problematic with, anything coming in, if they can just keep it at a meadow habitat without getting trees and shrubs in amongst their panels.
Right. That makes sense, Mr. Rodriguez?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. All right, okay, I'm good, Matt, I think that.
yeah, so my last comment was the last one that's on the screen there, number 5, about the sheet, the O&M plan. Again, a little bit of confusion that the restoration areas aren't something that are to be maintained in the future, because those are shown as within this perimeter maintenance area. So again, that can either be just condition clarification, or if they're gonna do any modifications to the O&M plan, maybe they can just clarify that a little bit on that sheet.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. You got that, Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, just to clarify, do you guys want us to clarify that on the O&M plan, or would you guys want to put that as a condition? I'm fine either way.
Both, actually. So it'll be a condition, and then if you can clarify it in the O&M plan, just so there's some redundancy.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. So let me open it up to the commission members at this point.
Through the chair.
Yep. Ted?
I just want to make sure in that problematic southwestern corner, it looked like that the last row of panels was infringing on the 100-foot buffer twice at both ends. I want to make sure we're talking about both of those, or maybe I misread the map. There's the corner closest to the vernal pool, but it looks like at the other end of the array, it cuts through the 100-foot buffer again, if I was seeing it correctly. Right down there, but that's probably not the best view there, John.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't know what area, you were talking
Yeah,
about.
that one, let's just zoom in on that, Don, please.
Yeah, you won't get a good detail on that.
There was a good shot of it before.
Right. Just my computer doesn't like to chomp on set up plans this large memory.
Yeah, so I think the request was to Mr. Rodriguez that there's no panels within the buffer zone, right?
I can confirm that there, yes, I believe, yeah, there is another table in there, and we can remove that too, correct, Pedro?
Yeah, no problem at all.
I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that we don't have any panels within the 100 anywhere, and not just the corner closest to the vernal pool.
Yep, we'll do that.
Okay, thank you, Ted. Any other comments from commission members?
Yeah, I would echo what Ted said on those particular panels being in the 100-foot buffer. Another question I have is the drawing that we're looking at, is that with the modifications requested by the fire chief for turnout areas and things?
Yes. So that sheet that, I was going to say the one that Don just had pulled up.
This one?
Yeah, that one's fine. There you can see. So the standard 16-foot wide driveway is that light gray. And if you look more towards, say, the detention basin, just to the south west of that, right there, that's a pull-off area right there, that darker gray. So they're about 8 feet wide by 50 feet long, and then I kind of tapered them into the driveway. Right there, yep. So there's a number of those.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I see. Yeah.
I believe I kept all of them out of the buffer zone. And I stayed away from adding any dirt in that problematic area down south, where we were just speaking of. So, yeah, that's a good view, that landscape plan. It shows the whole site.
Okay, yeah, so the turnouts are not closer to the resource areas. They're actually in the work area where the arrays are.
Correct. Yeah, I pushed all of them into the array area where there was a little bit of gap space with the way the panels
Right,
have been
they're on
laid
the
out.
inside.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. Any other questions, Ed, or other commission members?
I have to try to remember the question, so if someone else has a question. I had a resident call me, so let me try to reformulate what she said. This was, I don't think it applies. Massachusetts Code 97, open space, it's been open for 20 years, and I don't believe that this qualifies as open space, so I don't think that her question applies. Does that make sense to anyone?
I think I know what you're talking about, and yeah, this doesn't apply to that regulation.
So my primary issues remain, we've got, in this picture we're seeing right here, we've got arrays in the 100-foot buffer. I don't like the fact that we've got roadway in the 100-foot buffer, but the arrays definitely is an issue.
Yeah, they already said they're pulling the arrays out of the 100-foot and the 125-foot vernal pool buffer zones. So I think that's a closed issue at this point.
I do wonder though, if when those arrays come away, if the road can be pulled back just a little bit. You know, because it doesn't have to go around arrays that aren't going to be there anymore.
Yeah, we could taper it a little bit in that section. It's still a tight 90-degree turn that the fire apparatus would have to make. So it's going to have to.
So
We'll pull it in as much as we can. There's no point in leaving it if we don't need it.
Yeah, Nick, if you can, you know, when you pull those arrays out, if you can, you know, taper that in a little bit, that would be helpful.
Yeah,
you know, we
not
can,
a problem.
We can just condition it as a, you know, you submit a revised plan depicting that. It'll pull it a little bit, you know, further away from the resource area.
Definitely. That definitely can be done.
Yeah, and the same thing at the other end too, you know, where you're pulling the arrays with the vernal pool, you might be able to, you know, squeeze that in a little bit tighter, but you can look at that. Good observation, Ted. Okay, any other comments from commission members? All right, let me open it up to comments from the public, and if you can raise your hand.
Jeff, this is Jim.
Jim, go ahead.
I apologize, but I ran out of battery, got kicked off, and I just a couple of questions and comments. I kept going in and out, but my understanding of the conversation earlier tonight is that it moved everything out of the 100 and 125 buffer zones, correct?
Correct. You're breaking up, but yeah, correct.
I know. We received, I think, an updated disturbance area accounting, right? And it still has disturbances in all of these zones. So first question is it correct? This is one I think I got today or it's on Google Docs anyway. It shows, for example, Vernal Pool 125, no disturb zone, 7,255 square feet. Are those now to be zero?
Through the chair, would you like me to address?
Yeah, if you get a Jim, you're breaking up. I mean, it's hard to understand. But go ahead, Mr. Fissenbuller. Go ahead.
So there is a decent amount of pre-disturbed area within the 50-foot no disturb zone in that area of the site, and within that 125-foot no disturb zone to the vernal pool. A large portion of that's paved. A lot of the pavement will be taken out, and a majority of that work in that area is going to be part of our restoration work, removing that pavement, doing the additional plantings. We do have, as you know, we just discussed, there is a section of that driveway, and there's a swale that follows the edge of that driveway in that area of the 125 no disturb zone. But you know, we just agreed to remove the panel, that panel table within that area. But yes, there will still be disturbance, mostly associated with the restoration work and minor disturbance area for the driveway and graded swale, which is running along the southerly side of the driveway. So yeah, I did a updated table as Dawn had requested. I don't know if you guys had a chance to take a look at it, and revised supplemental disturbance area form. So I kind of broke all that down, and then we have two colored plans in the plan set. One shows existing disturbed area, buffer zone areas, and just buffer zone areas in general on the site, and has a tabulation on the left-hand side. And the other plan shows disturbance areas associated with the project. And we kind of go through all those areas in detail. You know, what's driveway area. So the brown area on that plan that's being shown, that's all driveway disturbance. The down south, you can see it where it's blue. that's 0 to 50-foot disturbance, but that's all pre-disturbed area, which we are mitigating as part of this project. And where we just discussed the plantings and that Lucas Environmental made some comments on. So that whole area down there is being restored. You know, it's part of the removing of that 114,000 square feet of pavement in that section of the site.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, that makes sense. Jim, I don't know if you're still with us or if you dropped off, or that answers your question. I don't. Looks like Jim dropped off again. Okay. All right, so why don't we open it up to comments from the public? If you can raise your hand, and then I will scroll through here. See if we have anyone with their hand raised. Go ahead, Mr. Glasser. Mr. Glasser?
Hi, Maury Gasser.
Yeah, Mr. Gasser, sorry. How you doing, Mr. Gasser?
Hi. I just want a clarification on a statement made earlier about the open space donation that was going to be part of the conditions for operating. The statement was made that it was 45 acres. That's true for the solar parcel, but my understanding was that the conditions would include donation of the little piece in Ashland and also the open space in the office parcel for a total of 53.9 acres. Is that true?
Yes, and sorry, Maury, I'm just looking at the numbers now. You're correct.
Okay.
To include the entire parcel, including the ones in Ashland, is about 53.9, 54 acres. So
Great,
we're pretty
thanks.
much doing everything
Maury.
else in the parcel.
So I think for the application can only be relative, the conditions can only be relative to the lot we're applying on. So the remainder is a conversation between yourself and Seaboard, which I know Pedro is committed to that land area, but I don't believe, so the Conservation Commission or the Planning Board, for any instance, can condition a donation of land in, say, Ashland. You know,
That's correct. But, you know,
they can't do that.
Mr. Gasser just wanted clarification on what was being committed as part of his open space, I think was the question.
Correct. Yeah, we do have that open space plan. It is, the 52-acre range.
Yeah.
For the
But what's
full-
applicable to this application is the 45 acres.
That's correct, yes.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Any other questions from the public? Please raise your hand. Or if you're having technical difficulty raising your hand, feel free just to speak. You can identify yourself and your address.
Hello, are you waiting for me?
Who might this be?
This is Ann Karnofsky from 132 Main Street.
Okay, yep,
East Main.
we were waiting for you. Go ahead.
Okay. I would hope that maybe Ed would make a resolution to consult with Town Council Ray Miaris, who is an environmental attorney of great note, I understand, and check for sure to see that Article 97 of the Massachusetts General Laws about change of use in open space, to see whether that could apply. And the second thing is to research the non-expansion document signed by Liberty Mutual that would apply here, because disturbance and development would be taking place with the solar farm.
I guess in response to your first point, you know, this isn't designated as open space, as private property.
Okay.
Well, I think there's a little bit of a question there. Since it's been used as open space by the residents for over 20 years, the Article 97 may still apply. There may be
I
a
don't think so,
three-step.
ma'am. I don't, it's private property and you've had the benefit of utilizing it as open space over the years, but it doesn't qualify as open space.
Well, do you think you could have Ray Miaris make a check so we have an expert at the law?
We can, I think we can, condition that with the approval, yes.
Okay, and then the other part is there is a non-expansion document associated with the whole, the two parcels completely. And I'd like you to research that. I'd like to know, and for you to make public what that expresses. It may be so that this cannot be done on this property.
I'll defer to Mr. Rodriguez. I'm not aware of any.
He doesn't know about it. Ed Harrow knows about it.
He's the owner of the property. Why wouldn't he know about it?
Well, there are many of us that love this forest and that do not want to see it used for this purpose. There is the E.L. Harvey dump, which would be more appropriate for a commercial farm like this. And we think that this document may prevent this forest from being disturbed. A non-expansion document, and I believe the town council could research that at your, at your request.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Ed.
I have been told of such a document by a party who would have been in position to have known about it, but his comment was it was a long time ago and he's uncertain. And I didn't bring it up tonight. I did bring up her other question about Chapter 97 because I didn't think that this was the appropriate venue for
Okay, I got
discussing
it.
that. I figured
I
that
got
was
it. Thank you. So if there was a document that was put in place for the property to this effect, it would have carried with the deed.
Yeah.
So,
If
you know,
I
as
can
part of
address
our request, you know, to the attorney, you know, we can have Mr. Rodriguez, you can, you know, research this. Please, we'll have.
Well, I wouldn't be comfortable if he were researching his own.
We'll have our attorney look into it as well, okay?
Thank you, and I wanted to give you the name of somebody who can I say, was in charge of the Liberty Mutual sign of this part in the sale. This is Patrick Kavanaugh, and I have a phone number for him.
Can you please email that to?
I don't. I'm sorry. I don't. I'm not. I can't email, but I'll just give you a phone number for him. Patrick Kavanaugh was the realtor from Liberty Mutual. He'd be able to get you that document. His phone number is 617-912-7000, and just ask for him.
Patrick Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, those are my comments, but you can see that I'm a little bit upset about different boards just going 1, 2, 3 and acknowledging the different permits that were required. I want you to know that there are a great deal of residents and perhaps clubs who are very upset about losing this this forest, which expands the Deer Run Halt Sanctuary. It's a treasure, and we really don't think it should be used this way.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening. Okay, do we have any other comments, questions from the audience members? From the public?
And let me just scroll through, going once, going twice. Okay. I think we are ready for a vote on this.
Through the chair.
Point of order to the, Jeff, I have a question. I was late to tonight's meeting, so I joined in while this conversation was underway, but I've been to all the previous ones. Do I eligible to vote? Or no, because I missed some of tonight?
Yeah, you can still vote.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that, to sum it up, Janine, there was a request to pull some of the panels out of the 125 and 100-foot buffer zone, so that's been acknowledged. They're going to do that. Kind of walked us through again, what the mitigation strategy was, or the mitigation measures. There was a request from the fire department for having wider areas of the road so that the trucks could pull off, the fire trucks, if they needed to. The applicant addressed that. It didn't move any closer to the buffer zones. It moved more into the work area where the panel arrays are. So I think that kind of sums up what the, major.
Yeah, I've been here for at least half an hour.
Okay.
So, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other?
Chair?
Yep, Don, go ahead.
Just in regards to public comments, the lady that just got off the phone, Miss Ann Karnowski, she had, since the last meeting, had submitted these written comments to the commission. And
Yeah.
we also received these written comments from Miss Easler, 16 Oakhurst Road.
Right.
So
Yeah,
they're
I saw
part
that.
of the record.
Okay. So we have, there's requests to do just a little bit of research into the open space, but, I'm pretty confident that it's not the case. But for the edification of the public, we can look into it. Don, we'll just condition that. But if we can, I think we are.
If this is Melissa, I think you have one hand raised.
Oh.
If you're still taking comments, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Mrs. Ober, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello?
You're a little bit low, but we can barely hear you.
Okay, this is Gail Ober, 17th on Ridge Road. I just wanted to know if these revisions will be made that you've all requested to Seaboard prior to you taking a vote. Like, will we see the revisions in writing? It's on my behalf, it's a lack of trust based on what I've read about this company. And I know it's not appropriate to get into it, but I would like to see things in writing and all of the things that you've asked them to do prior to you taking a vote.
Yeah, so the approval is contingent on them submitting the revised plans and updates that we've requested.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. Let me just check one more time. Public comments. Okay. If I can get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent, contingent upon receiving the requested modifications to the site plans and changes that were noted, and the conditions that have been noted throughout the course of the hearing process. If I can get a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could you list off the particular issues like the arrays that have to be moved and so forth very specifically?
Yes. So the arrays will be moved outside the 125-foot buffer zone. In the southwest portion of the site, the arrays will be moved outside the 100-foot buffer zone in the same general area right there. The applicant is going to look at tapering that road in at both those locations to pull it in as appropriate. So it's a little bit further out of the buffer zone because those arrays won't be located there. Matt, did you have any, so we had the conditions that Matt was looking for was having the Conservation Commission identified on the operation and maintenance plan to be able to come onto the site for inspections. That was another one. The condition in the vegetation management that it will be managed seasonally, in the fall, and that the vegetation will be allowed to grow to maintain a meadow, wildlife meadow, but yet high enough that it's not going to impair the productivity of the panels. So I think we're talking 36 inches or 42 inches there. And then I think the last one was SK1 plan to be revised to indicate the locations of the buffer zone restoration areas, and that those areas will not be maintained without prior notification to the commission. And I think that captures everything that we discussed. Don, did you have anything else to add, or Matt?
Just clarification on the condition you guys wanted for the open space portion of the discussion. I don't think it's jurisdictional to the commission, but you just wanted a condition to say the applicant is going to investigate the claims that were raised during the public hearing. Is that how we're going to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think Mr. Rodriguez has a question.
Yeah, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, look, just to address that portion, we have no problem having that condition, but for the record, when we submitted or before we submitted our application to the Planning and Conservation Commission, our attorney submitted a zoning determination addressing that item for the previous open space for the Liberty Mutual site. And we were approved by the town to move forward with the application the way that we did. So that item has been reviewed already, I believe, by town council. If not, we would have now been able to submit the application.
Okay, if you can just forward us, the
Yeah.
documentation to that effect, Mr. Rodriguez, so we can enter it into our project record.
I will.
Thank you. Okay. So if I can get a motion for closure and approval of the notice of intent.
This is Melissa. I'll make that motion.
Okay, Melissa, thank you. And a second, please.
It's Carrie, I'll second.
Right, and we will do the roll call. So Melissa,
In favor, aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
No.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Regretfully, aye.
Jeff is an aye. And I don't believe Jim is on the, I think Jim dropped off, so Jim's not here, Anna. So the motion passes.
So that's 5-1.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all Don's effort and Matt's efforts throughout the project reviews. Very thorough. You guys helped us out and did a lot of work to help craft this into what I believe is a good project. So thank you for all.
And the commission appreciates the efforts, Nick and Pedro, that you guys did to protect the open space, work with the different stakeholders in town. And I think it's, unfortunately, there is some, upland area that's being, removed as part of the project, but, we appreciate the efforts that you guys are doing to preserve what you can there as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good
have a
night.
good evening. All right. Okay.
So, through the chair?
Yep, Don, sorry.
We'll just document that we'll have the commission sign a signature page for that order of conditions, and we'll get the conservation staff will start drafting it so it can get issued in a timely manner.
Yes, please. Thank
Will
you.
do.
Thank you. Okay, so we have, Don, let me know when you're ready to move on.
Bringing it up right now. If we're jumping back to, going back to the work session item number 3, Halt had an exemption request before the
Yep.
commission.
Mr. Gasser, you still on the line?
Yes,
Looks like Steve Landowski might
I'm
be
still here.
addressing it.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Gasser's here.
Oh,
Okay.
Steve is there. Steve, you want to talk?
Sure, I can explain this one.
All right. Good evening.
Hi, everyone. So as you can see from the map there, we have a trail system that goes around a development off of North Street. And the two areas in yellow there go over some wet spots where we'd like to put some boardwalks. That's some photos of some of the wet areas.
And it's the same typical construction that you have proposed previously?
Right.
Yeah, okay. All right, I don't foresee an issue with this. Any comments from the commission members?
No. It's good.
All right, I think you guys are good to go. Mr. Gasser, before you go, I had a question. So there was a similar bridge that was done. What was the property that we were talking about at the last meeting there?
Was that?
That was Greenwood Road.
Greenwood, yeah.
Right.
Was Halt, did you guys put that bridge in, or?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Well, there's already a bridge there, though. No, it wasn't Greenwood. This was a different,
You're talking about Prestwick.
yeah, Prestwick.
Oh, Prestwick, that was a different, yeah, that one didn't involve us.
No, that wasn't us.
You know who it was?
There was a question about who put it in.
Well, that's the question. Do you know who put it in? I've been trying to do some research. I haven't found out who put it in yet. It wasn't Upper Charles Trail Committee, and it wasn't the Trails Management Committee. So I'm thinking that it might have been residents who put it in, but you know, I haven't
I've
cracked
only
the nut
heard
yet.
rumors, so I don't know.
Okay, that was it right there. It's a nice bridge, by the way.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, Don. So do we have any public forum requests?
Yeah, one thing I was going to throw out, I did email out, I'll grab them right now, the minutes. So if I go on the
Oh,
phone,
yeah.
I didn't know if I will bring it up on the shared screen. Once Word opens this up, there she goes. Wrong one. New share. Where is the minutes?
It was the March minutes, right? March
Correct.
22nd, I think, or
Yep. Here we go. Hopefully it's there. I don't know if you guys haven't had a chance to
10th.
review it. Yep, March 10th.
Yeah, I mean, it looked good to me. Did everyone get a chance to take a look at the minutes, or should we
We
continue?
can table it if we don't have enough people. Went out last week, sorry.
Um,
5 pages, it's kind of long.
yeah, I did not get a chance to look at it.
All right, let's
Nope.
table it till the next
Yep.
meeting.
That's fine.
All right. That was the only one?
That was the only one.
Okay. All right, if there's a motion to adjourn the meeting,
Yeah.
Ted's made the motion, second.
No. I sent a quick chat. I don't know if everyone is up to speed on the zoning overlay since we just did a solar farm. This was something I mentioned a while ago that the planning board recently approved. I don't know if people would like an update or if everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah, you can give, I did read about it, but feel free to give us an update, Ted. That'd be
So
great.
coming out of Zach and actually coming out of me after that solar farm off of Alexander Road, we proposed the zoning advisory committee a solar overlay, which essentially would establish that the only places in town where commercial solar arrays could be installed as a primary use were all of the places where they already existed, places where applications were in process, including Franklin Road, but also off of Wilson Street. And then the median, the between lanes of 495 and E.L. Harvey and the Cloverleafs. After being chewed on by planning board for a long time, they took the Franklin Road off. They took Wilson Street off, the thinking being if those projects fell through, those didn't seem like the right kind of land where the town would want to have solar projects. I agree with Ed. I voted aye on that last thing, but I wasn't very happy about it with all the trees going down. So anyway, that's been approved and that will be going in front of town meeting. So the overlay would be, again, the 495 in the middle of the north and southbound lanes, the Cloverleafs at Route 135 and 495, also the Mass Pike, but I think that's all wetland, so it doesn't really matter. And then only the lands where currently solar farms exist. So that's where it stands. It would limit quite a bit where commercial solar farms could propose to put in arrays.
So it was
Hopefully-
approved by the planning board and it's going to town meeting, correct?
It is indeed, and it's in fact slightly more restrictive than the proposal that came out of Zach, because again, they removed Franklin Road in Wilson.
Right. Yeah, okay.
We'll need a 2/3 positive vote at town meeting in September.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for the update. We appreciate it. All right, any other issues, items? All right, if I get a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
And
Ted.
second,
Second.
Ted's a second. And we'll do the roll call. Melissa? Melissa, you and I?
Yes, I'm an aye.
Yep. Ted?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
And Jeff's an aye. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night, all.
Night, Don.
Thank
Night,
you.
Don.
Good night.